Yeah, Sam, it's spring break for a lot of people.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she's off with her family, I want to say to Carolina someplace, I'm not
Great.
sure.
Sue said she was going somewhere.
And Sue said she was going someplace too, yeah. But a quorum is 3, so we can do this business today.
Well, great.
Instead of waiting another month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of us work all the time, constantly. That's why I dress so well.
Like a finger packet?
Oh, sure. I think I might already have some packet from last week.
You got yours? Okay, great. Perfect, thank you. Well done.
Thanks, Bart.
That's good.
Steve List. Are you related to Beth List?
Beth? Yeah.
Is she your wife?
Mm-hmm.
I gave her retirement party down at the office of the agent.
Oh,
Mary Bachman calls home back then, I was the director down there.
oh, okay.
Remember, I gave her the Dog Days of Heaven.
Yeah,
Yep, okay. That was her finale.
yeah. Yeah, we just moved into apartment downtown here, so.
Did you really? I
Yeah.
loved your little country house up there. I was
Yeah,
tempted to
that
buy
side
it.
hill was just too much for us anymore, so.
Yeah, that was a beautiful
We
house.
moved down on the flat, we're in, where the old Guthrie, so,
Oh, okay, that's why I see you by Julie's house all the time.
yeah,
Yep, because my sister
Yeah,
Julie
that-
Signs, and
yeah.
Greg Hardy.
right, I walk back and forth by there all the time.
Yep, okay. I thought I recognized you.
Yeah,
Did we not approve the minutes from January at our meeting last month?
No.
We passed on it?
did you have a meeting? Because,
Well, we had,
You were-
we met, we opened, we said the pledge and everything, but we didn't have an applicant, so I thought we did the minutes and quit.
We did, yeah, because I have the minutes here from
From
last time.
Yeah, I did too.
I'm pretty sure we,
I'm pretty sure we did vote on them. Because there, Sue had a comment, you weren't here. Sue had a
Yeah,
comment
that's right.
God, what was it about the minutes?
she wanted more.
Whoever
she wanted
was
more
taking
detail.
minutes did not.
She wanted more detail.
So maybe this is part of the problem then. So whoever took the minutes from the last meeting didn't mark that we had.
Well, you were on vacation, so Fred took the minutes and he just
No,
forgot
I
it.
didn't ever get anything from Fred from last night. I just thought you canceled the meeting because I didn't get
No, we
anything.
had a.
Oh, no, we had a meeting. Yeah.
Um,
We were expecting the
Well, like I said,
applicant, but
I heard
there was a
the
screw up
applicant,
and I apologize, actually.
Yeah, Dennis told me the wrong time.
Yeah, and that's a disservice
And
to
I
you.
had to, yeah, and I had to wait another month.
I know,
have to
I
wait
know.
6 to 8 weeks.
I know, I'm sorry.
So should we read, I mean, I don't know, how do we,
What was the question?
well, Barbara's trying to figure out how do we sort this out.
So you.
Oh, well, no, let's go to Fred tomorrow. We're not doing anything on it tonight. Let's see if Fred's got any.
Okay, so did you already approve the January 16th minutes? Is that what the deal is?
That's the one we approved,
That's
yes.
basically all we
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
And we did we open a public hearing even? Or?
No, I don't believe we did.
Okay.
I don't believe we did, because we didn't have an applicant.
Right, okay.
But we did have a meeting,
So that would have been,
and that was March the, it's on my agenda here,
about a week after my surgery.
March the 20th.
2 weeks after. That's
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize, you weren't here. All right, well, we got one more minute. Do we know if Dennis is coming?
I have no idea.
Find out.
He was in here, he spoke to somebody, oh, he's talking to Liv from SP.
Oh, is he here talking on the phone or something?
No, that was earlier.
Oh,
Okay.
But when I went out back, I didn't see his truck, so I assumed
grand to get a burger or something, let's find out.
Somebody watch.
Why is this not coming up? I don't understand.
Looking for,
Here we go.
Okay. I'm not sure that we need Dennis.
No, I don't think we do. But he had some thoughts on separation distances and fire department requirements and those kinds of things that would kind of help. Would have been nice to have had that again.
did you see the stuff from the STC?
I did. Did you? You did, right? That was quite helpful, certainly unexpected for me. I didn't know that the village had hired her. And she came last month, and we got to meet her. She was seemed a very competent person, and
She told
appreciated
us
her
that she
help.
would be back if she didn't trust that we knew what we were doing, so.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we did-
Yeah, so I guess we fooled her, huh? No, I'm not ready to start. I'm gonna give Dennis a few more minutes.
Yes.
Can you tell me what these words are here? So let's go on the side. I think that took down 12 by 22 lines left concrete.
What does that say? Well, the couple inches, the concrete that I had, when Dennis was there when I took this down, and I left.
I don't want to get into it.
No, no, I left,
We'll get
no,
into this
okay,
for the
yeah.
record.
I left, because the
All right,
wall
no,
said.
I don't want to get, no,
Oh,
we're not having
okay.
this conversation.
It
I
says
just wanted to-
2 inches or so of wall on, of the
Okay,
previous building
okay.
was
All right,
left.
That's what I needed.
Okay, yeah.
We'll give you a chance to
Okay.
talk, we'll talk, but we got to do that on the record, okay?
Okay.
All right, well, we might as well do this. Yeah, let's turn it on, Barb.
So you want me to sit up there?
Pardon me?
Do I sit right there?
You may if you'd like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, we got a little bit of business to do
Oh.
before we take up your application.
Okay.
Formalities, but if you guys, ladies and gentlemen, would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so. Now you can give up, it's over this.
Okay, all right, whichever.
What we'll do, Mary, is we're going to open a public hearing. We're going to ask you some questions. You're going to tell us a little bit about what you want to do. We're going to ask some more questions, and if nobody else has any more comments, we close the hearing, then we deliberate, and we make a decision. So
Okay.
that's the way it works. So is there a motion to open the hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. So, Mary, we have your application here in front of us that's been supplied by Dennis. It consists of the application, an aerial photograph or drone, whatever you call it. And of course, we had your application from last month as well. We do apologize on the record for that screw up with the communications last month. And
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate. You waited a whole month.
Thank you.
For no fault of your own, and that's unfortunate. I apologize. And so we have all the materials. Tell us in your own words, if you could, what's going on?
I took down a 12 by 22 garage,
When was that?
shoot,
Roughly.
3 months ago,
Okay.
in ill repair. I've got pictures of it. And it was dangerous. So I left some of the concrete that the walls were setting on, 4 inches up, then they set the walls on it. You know how you have a foundation, and then you have
The
the
concrete
bricks
block.
around it, and then you
Yeah.
put your walls on it. So Dennis was there when I did the demo, and he says, as long as you don't put anything bigger, if you put anything bigger, you're gonna need a permit. Well, later on down the line, I get Dennis calling me, telling me I can only put a 8-foot by 16. And I said, wait a minute, I left part of the walls up, 2 inches of the concrete. He said, that does not matter. I said, okay. So, I ended up, I want to put a 10 by 20, which is 2 feet less next to this building that he's worried about fire getting to.
The building that's on your neighbor's, that belongs to your neighbor?
It belongs
And
to my
partly on-
neighbor,
and
but
partly
it's
on your
partially
property.
on my property.
We have the aerial photos, so
Okay,
I think
yes.
we appreciate the fact that
And-
this abutting structure is
And
some distance, a few feet, I guess. at
it's,
least.
yeah, I mean, it's not even a foot, and, I mean, it's like
The pictures
4.5
in-
feet away, 5
Yeah.
feet away from this building. I mean, it's 2 feet more away from it because I'm gonna butt up to the farthest side to my property. So it's like, not that big.
Where the existing garage.
Where the
was.
existing garage was, the 2 feet aren't gonna be like, it's not gonna be set in the middle, it's gonna be butted up towards, away from this shed as far as it can get. On that note, and this has probably nothing to do with that, I'm in the process of, with the Cyrils, trying to buy that property because that used to be mine.
The who's,
The Cyrils own
This is
what
the one.
Minicello's used to have,
This is the one next
that
door.
blue shed, that property.
Okay.
Is now we're negotiating on price.
Oh.
That's
okay,
why it
well,
has a double driveway. It used to, in the past, be my mother's and grandmother's property, and both of those were put a double driveway in. That's why there's the double driveway there. I own, well, no, I own the corner lot in the 310 6th Street and the 507 Perry. And then the
The
one
310
next.
6th Street is on the same parcel?
Yep, you can see the back of it.
I drove past there, and I, when I first looked at these aerial photos, I didn't even see a building there, and I said, no.
It used to be the
there's-
very first
there's a
store in
building
Watkins
there.
Glen, the 310 6th Street. It
Is
was my
that right?
grandfather's store. A lot of history here. So, but regardless, the point at hand is I took a 12 by 22 down. I'm looking to put a 10 by 20 up. That's why I'm asking now for the variance, because I was misconstrued on if I went any bigger, I'd need the variance, but now I'm being told that I can only put 8 by 16. I can't even fit my car in that to store for the winter time.
Sure. The blue shed, that's the.
The
that's
blue shed is the
over
one that's
property
next to
line.
it.
Yeah.
And it's like 5 by 8,
Is that-
I mean, it's not
Is
gonna,
that a foundation, is it concrete, can it be moved?
it's on the ground. It's actually dilapidating. In the back window, I can show you pictures of the back. In the window, it's growing that, vine that goes through everything. That's what actually kept my building up, because the vine was over the roof holding it together. And I don't believe there's anything in that shed. I've never opened it up to look. It's not my well, it's my property, but not my the shed.
Would you happen to know, and if Dennis were here, I would ask him, if a demolition permit was necessary for the old shed? for the old
Probably
building?
not, but I did it, just to be legal.
I would argue maybe probably it was, but I don't
Oh,
really,
yeah.
I don't really know.
It probably would have been, and, you know, my boyfriend owns Morgan Logging, and we've been with him for 30 years. We did it, you know, I got the permit, I didn't want to do anything that was illegal or go, you know, behind people's backs. So now I'm just looking to put in a smaller building.
In the same footprint, it's just a smaller.
Right, smaller building, I mean, like I said, I'm butting it over towards, away from the shed, you know, so you're talking 2 feet farther than my last building was.
And the new building, the new structure will be 5
10 by
feet.
20.
It'll be 5 feet from your property line. The issue is that the shed is there. That's the problem.
Yeah, I guess that's, that's his worry was that if there was ever a fire, that it would go over to that.
To that shed.
Yep,
5 feet from the rear one and 5, is that what you're saying?
no, 5 feet from this blue one,
From the blue one?
yeah, this blue one.
From the blue one's the one on the property line, the neighbor's shed on the
Would this
property.
help you, this picture? This
Is
is
that
what,
the old, is that the old
that's
garage?
the old garage,
Does it have the other building on it?
yes,
The blue
That's
one's
the
to
blue
the
one
right
right
of
next
it.
to it.
right. And this is why I took it down, and there's no roof left on it. You can have it.
So that's the one, that shed's still here?
That shed's still there,
Still there.
right here. And this is my whole, you don't even see that blue shed there.
Well, I see it,
Kind
a
of.
little bit, yeah.
I mean, this is where the shed would kind of almost be to go into that shed. You could still,
I'm gonna pass these up, let my friends look at them.
okay. I mean, it's gonna be an improvement for the neighborhood, because right now, everything's out there underneath tarps. It kind of looks like a junkyard. And the old garage, I mean, there was no repair to it. It was an eyesore, and it was dangerous.
Did Dennis tell you why he recommended an 8x16 shed?
He said the new codes, that it wouldn't be grandfathered in like he had,
Did
that
Dennis,
he had kind of said that if I went bigger, that I could go ahead and put a shed, but
did
I'm not going
Dennis,
bigger.
did Dennis tell you at any time that you should not tear it down and replace it like wall by wall so that you would avoid having to get a
No, I
variance?
mentioned that, knowing that. That's why I mentioned the concrete staying there where the walls were on top of it, not the bottom concrete, the walls that are up 6 inches,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
which I can show you right here. Those are
I
the
saw it.
walls.
You can see
I
them.
saw it.
Okay, so,
Sorry, I got one of those.
and there was
Yeah, it
no
looks like it's
question
an
at that time when I was demoing it, that, I would have to get this variance. It was supposed to be grandfathered in until like a week or so later after it was down. Then all of a sudden this cat, so then I had to go for a variance, so now I'm here.
Here we are. Seeing as the neighboring shed is on your property line, have you asked them if they could move it back over to their property line? Has that been a conversation at all?
I haven't yet because I'm in the process of trying to buy that property. You don't really want to, you know, start that kind of, and it's, you know, with that kind of business dealing, you don't want to start, you know, making amends.
So the only drawing I have, I mean, when you ask for a variance, what you do, the code says you need to be 6 feet from each of the property lines and any appurtenant structures or any adjacent structures.
Right.
And the old garage wasn't even 6 feet away from that,
No.
from that shed. I get that. But normally what you would say is, okay, I want to be 3 feet from that building, or 2 feet, or 5 feet from that building. You haven't given us any dimensions of what you really, where you want to put it. You've talked about the foundation for the old garage, and that's very helpful. But the old garage was 12 by 20, not 10 by 20. So what I'm looking for is exact dimensions of what you want, because it's not in your application.
Okay, so I want to be at least 3 feet from, okay, because we've already got 2. So I want to be, there's like a foot there. I guess to be on the safe side, I'd say I want to be 3 feet away from that building, I guess.
Let me clarify one thing here. Are we talking that the code requires 6 feet from the side between the two properties and the rear, 6 feet off of the rear also?
Yes.
So we're looking at the.
Yeah,
that the
no,
code
is it
requires
not the
6
rear?
Sorry, not the rear,
Not-
just the side.
not the rear.
Oh, what's the
Yeah.
rear, what's the rear code
The
require?
rear is only for the, I take it back. It is 6 feet for the rear as well.
Okay, so we're looking for the shed to be, or the new garage to be 6 feet from the line to meet the code.
Yes,
That's
and
what we're
unfortunately,
looking for.
and according to the Southern Tier Central folks, it doesn't have to be from the side yard, it doesn't have to be 6 feet from the property line. It needs to be 6 feet from the shed that's
Right.
on the wrong side of the property line.
Right.
But it needs to be from the, the pointed measurement is the shed, not the property line.
Okay.
And I think I heard you, if I heard you right, you wanted to be 3 feet from the shed.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, feasible.
And how far from the back property line? I mean, it looks like the old garage was right on the back property line.
Yeah, I mean, this, so I would say, let's see, it's 22 feet.
And
So
I
let's go 3 feet with that, because I can always buck that shed back up the driveway. I mean, so I can be 3 feet from the back and 3 feet from the shed.
3 feet from the shed with the shed removed would make you how far from your line?
No, I mean,
At least 6, 7.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. If that blue shed goes away,
oh, yeah, then I'd be,
how far would you be?
oh, I'd be
If you go 3
6,
feet now.
I'd
from
be
that
like
blue
6
shed,
feet, I'd have it, wouldn't I? I would almost think I'd have it, because,
You might,
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be close.
That's what I'm trying to
yeah,
clarify.
so I'd almost have it, you know?
So,
Really?
I mean, I really hate to ask these people to move that shed when they're trying to sell the property. Even if I don't get the property, do I want to ask people to move that shed, even though they probably will, because it's getting dismayed, to be a good neighbor? They already share the driveway, and the driveway is mostly mine too, so trying to make peace without having an adverse, thing going on with the neighborhood.
This shed looks pretty good to me. How old are these pictures?
Today. Oh, not, some of those,
Well, some
this
of
one's today.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's good, but you look at the bottom, you can see where it's starting to get holes in it, and the back window's got all that weed going up into it. That's, I'm gonna give you that one too.
Okay, tell me about, what was it, 316, was that the house number on,
310 6th Street.
on 6th Street? I saw the house, I drove past there earlier, and the house is pretty close to the road. Forgetting about that for a minute, it goes back fairly far, and there's this, what looks like a porch or something. How far are you gonna be from that?
Oh, I'll be at least, yeah, because
That's
the
another
concrete,
structure,
yeah,
yeah.
you're definitely gonna be 6 feet away from that
You
one.
will be.
Yes, definitely.
And 6 feet away from the
Yeah,
building?
there's a concrete pad that used to be the old chicken coop back there
Yeah.
when they sold.
So if you were to be 3 feet from the other shed,
The back and 3 feet from the other, then
and I'm thinking about, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, all right, never mind. I'm trying to think about what Dennis had suggested, 8 by 16. It says here that you would fit, and you wouldn't need anything.
And it's just a shed. She's trying to build a garage, it sounds
Well, I'm trying to
Well,
store my.
That's a great question. What are we doing? Are we building a garage, or are we putting a shed on the
No,
concrete
it's a
pad?
shed that has the double doors
A
that I'd
prefab.
be able to have my car stored in. I cannot store a car in 8 feet.
Is it a prefab, or are you building it from are you using the existing foundation?
I've been talking to Empire Sheds to,
Okay.
to get one. The thing is they pretty much have to build it because there's not a lot of them that, they have a lot of them that are 10 by 20. And they have a lot of them with the double doors that your car will fit through. But they don't have a lot with the entrance door going on the left side. Most of them have the right side for that. And I want it on the left side so I don't have to encumber on the neighbor, because that is behind the 310, and then there's a great big concrete pad there.
Do you have any other questions, David, for Ms. Gallick? Or Alan?
I do not.
I mean, I just don't want the place to look like a junkyard anymore. It's got junk all over it. It's got 3 lawnmowers with a tarp over it. It's got, yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Mary,
Uh,
before I close the hearing?
Let me see. Well, I think that it's asked about adverse effect on the impact of the physical environment. I don't,
We're gonna talk about all those things, but
Okay.
if you'd like to address any of that,
Okay.
sure, help me.
yeah, I think it will have a real good physical on the environment because it will look neater.
Clean things up.
It's not that far off of the length that we need. Sheds are usually based and measured by their roof line, which is usually 6 inches, or 2 inches on each side, so that brings me back 4 inches more. You know how the sheds, they go like this? Really, your wall's back from it, because they have the overhang.
Really? That's
So
the
you
way
have
they-
that.
That's the way they measure them, huh?
Yeah, so, I know that from putting in shed pads and everything and all that, you have to always have the 2 inches over too when you make a pad, because then of the overhang, because then your water drips off and all that.
Are you gonna use your existing pad, or build a new one, or
I'm
pour
gonna use the
something on top?
concrete and I'm gonna push it right up to that lift of that,
The lip.
yep, the lip of the, on my side, not towards the shed.
Keeping it to the left when you're facing back.
Right, keeping it to the left as far as I can, right up to the lift, and if I have to, I'll cut the door to open it up.
Right, right. That'll feel nice, yeah.
And with that shed there, the 10
By 20.
by 20, that shed would be, with the blue shed gone, would be 6 feet from your lot. Or
Yes, I'm
approximately.
pretty sure it would be, but
Approximately.
we do have that blue shed there, and,
Looks like it,
I mean,
approximately.
we're talking couple inches here, and I just, you know, I'm trying to clean the place up.
Right, I mean, if the shed's 6 feet, then that's at least 2 feet, maybe 3 probably. And if she adds another 3, she'll be 6 feet, if the shed will move. Yeah, yeah, same thing, yeah, right? So the
Right.
property line is,
They're
a third of
showing
the way through that
way
shed.
over where it belongs, and
Yeah.
then they show it where it was existing.
yeah. But we gotta do better, they can't butt up against each other, and you really should stay away from the back property line as well. But I'm sympathetic certainly to your situation. Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Is there a motion to close the hearing?
I have one question.
Oh, please.
With the 6 inches that I left there, it should be grandfathered in. That was my whole thing with Dennis when he was there on site, that I said I was leaving the 6 inches, and I've got a picture of it with it being measured, of the concrete that the wall sat on. Instead of leaving that wall that would have been dangerous, you know, cropped up to do wall by wall by wall.
I'm not sure what your point is. I think the code,
This was part of the
What
wall.
she's-
I've left part of the wall.
Yeah,
I
but you didn't leave the wall. And if you replaced the wall when you took it down, we probably wouldn't have been here.
But I had a code enforcer there saying, if you build any bigger, you're gonna need a variance, a permit.
Right, any
And
bigger,
now,
Any bigger than 8 by 16.
and now
because
that
you
I
can't-
go to do something about a week later, I'm hearing, oh, you need a variance. That wasn't good enough, that 6 inches that you left of concrete, even though it wasn't part of the pad, it was part of the wall. So I'm getting mixed messages from the person that was there being the code enforcer.
You want us to table this until next month when he can join us? And I'm not being funny here.
No,
but-
I don't
but-
have time to do this
Well,
all the
I
time.
can't help it. He's not here.
And-
And I got a he said, she said.
Okay,
and-
that's fine, but with all the facts that have been put together anyways, I'm pretty much got the property line if that shed wasn't there, and I can always bring it forward up the driveway to make the other. I sympathize, yes, the fire, and my son just had a fire, lost everything. So I know what it's like to have fire, codes and stuff. But this isn't a major, it's a shed. And
The firemen are gonna bust their butt just to keep it from going, whether it's a shed or
I
a
know.
garage or a house. You know
I
firemen.
realize that, but
One thing about them. that-
there's a million other properties I could take pictures of that
What's-
are like
What's behind the garage on the other side?
a yard,
Just a yard?
a fence, but a yard.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's,
I just wanna-
used to be Wager's, now that's up for sale too, I think. I'm not buying the whole block.
All right,
a motion
any-
to close the public hearing?
Okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right,
okay,
so,
so,
ladies or gentlemen, do you have any ideas for a motion?
We want to discuss first?
Yeah, sure.
I think first we need to determine if it is a non-conforming use, where they would be eligible to be rebuilt in its pre-existing condition. And if so, then I'm not sure we need to move on to whether or not she needs an area variance.
As I understand the code, and I don't know if I can find it right now, because I didn't earmark this, but
I'm looking at page 157.
nonconformities, penalties, and fees? What section? 45?
So they're talking about how non-conforming use that is,
I don't think it's a non-conforming use, is it? Isn't it just non-conforming because of the lot line requirements, the distances? That's what we're looking at. It's not a non-conforming use.
Well-
It's non-conforming to the lot line requirements distance.
right, so this is 45.1 is non-conforming structures, uses, and lots. Any non-conformity under the previous zoning law will also be non-conforming under this zoning law, as long as the situation that resulted in non-conforming status under the previous regulation continues to exist. If, however, a non-conforming situation under previous zoning regulations becomes conforming because of the adaptation of the zoning law, or any subsequent amendment to it, then the situation will no longer be considered a non-conformity. Non-conforming structure or use is not expanded or enlarged, extended, or increased other than by conformance subject to 45.1F. So
Right.
she's,
Go ahead.
she'd be allowed to maintain the property.
Well, I
And then
think,
if it's discontinued for a period of 1 year or more, then it shall not thereafter be reestablished, and the future use shall be in conformity with this law.
and that I thought was the crux.
Right, so that's B2.
Right, because I was under the impression it's been more than a year since that garage was taken down.
no, it's been falling down. It's been probably about 4 months ago, 4 months ago that I took it down. I'd be willing to wait a year and have all the junk out in the yard,
Oh,
but.
no, you don't want to wait a year.
Right.
No, that's the point, you
She
don't
wants
want to wait a
if
year.
she
I don't
was to wait
want
a year,
that.
Then she would have to conform entirely to these, to the zoning laws, or at that point, request an area variance. And if you go down to G, repair or reconstruction of damaged non-conforming structure.
Yeah, I saw that.
A non-conforming structure damaged by fire, flood, or other causes may be rebuilt to the prior non-conforming bulk or to a bulk that is more conforming. So essentially, as long as it doesn't increase in size.
And that's what Dennis had told me originally, as long as you don't make it bigger, you know, you'll have to get a permit if you make it bigger. I don't understand.
It just seems silly to require someone to leave up one wall at a time.
Well, that does seem silly.
And we also don't want to discourage people from, I mean, you saw the pictures of the garage. It
Mhm.
needed to be replaced.
Needed to come down, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was a danger.
Yeah.
Well, we can also go through the use variance, or the, area variance
We need
analysis
to do
as
that
well.
anyway.
That's what the
I'm not-
application is for.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready for that in my head. You know, if that were the case, if she were allowed to be put right back where it was before,
Mhm.
then it's a foot from the shed.
Right, and she's proposing to have it further than that.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
not even going that.
Which is
Right.
an improvement,
Right, which I like.
right.
But that's not putting it back where it was before either.
Well, as long as it's not expanded,
Yeah.
is what they're,
I mean, if you want me to get a bigger one, I will, but
No, no, no.
I was just trying to,
I'm trying to protect that fireman.
right,
And
I
having
don't
these
blame
two
you.
buildings kissing up against each other
right,
isn't
exactly.
right.
so,
It
yeah.
isn't right.
Exactly.
So
This
no-
way
so
you'd be
if-
able to
if-
walk through between the sheds, you know, you're gonna have at least a 3 foot
Yeah,
or
and 3
more.
feet would be fine for a fireman, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So, yeah, they're saying it can be rebuilt to the prior non-conforming bulk or to a bulk that is more conforming. So this is more conforming.
It is certainly more conforming. But then,
This is 45.1, Part G, repair or reconstruction of damaged non-conforming structure.
well, under that argument, Alan, she wouldn't need to be here.
Right. Or nor would we.
Right, and I was just trying to go about it the legality way, so
Yeah.
maybe I got myself more in a mess than I'm supposed to.
No,
The laws can, these laws can be
laws can be
confusing.
confusing to even code enforcement people.
Yes.
And to
I
laymen
agree.
like ourselves.
Mhm.
But given that we have an applicant who's willing to work with us on this, is there any further discussion? Because I'm ready to move on to the analysis of the 5 criteria. Okay? Gentlemen?
Okay.
So what we do here is we're just going to run through these 5 things and
Okay,
come to a decision. It doesn't have to be a yes or no, but we need to discuss it. The first is whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. I would argue not, that it could be cleaner because there'll be a place to store stuff.
Yeah, the structure will be much improved. The only,
It'll look much better.
the
hopefully.
potential detriment is, as Dennis and as you had mentioned, the potential
I
for,
don't see a problem with that.
yeah, for the, the fire issue.
Right. Number 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Well, you want a garage, I don't know how you could do it outside of an area variance.
Right, I'm looking at the outlines of the property, I don't see where it could be placed that wouldn't require a variance.
I would agree. David?
Probably not.
Number 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial.
We're talking the difference of 3 feet versus 6 feet.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly substantial, myself. We're talking about replacement of a structure a few feet different from what the code requires.
Right, structure that
In a
is there.
residential area, I don't see, I mean, you could argue that substantial, could mean anything, and it's not a very concise word, but I would say this is not particularly substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood or the district. Well, that's sort of like number 1.
Yeah, it's similar. It's at the rear of the building, or of the lot. We talked about the potential fire implications.
How do you read that number 4, David?
Well, I guess that would be totally on the way I see that is the total, is the location of the new structure. I mean, if you pull that structure up too far, close to the house, and keep it over there, how's the fireman gonna get in the backyard with hoses and stuff? It looks like this one already is pretty close, when you look at it from overhead.
Yeah.
So you can't, I mean, I think that depends on, I mean, I don't feel that we can, I feel that we have to state in our findings the distance that we are expecting the two sides of the building to be from the sides, and that the building cannot be larger than such and such, okay? And that's, if we do those two things, if we agree on those two things, then I think things probably could move forward. But you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I
Am I
understand.
correct?
Yeah.
I mean, if we agree that it needs to be off the line by X number of feet, and the building can't be larger than this, then
That's it.
that's it,
I agree.
okay?
I do.
I mean, that's where I'm at with it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
it's putting the numbers with it,
Right,
and,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. How tall is this shed you're buying?
it's probably just gonna have a normal pitch on it, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be, it's how wide, 10 feet wide?
Yeah, 10 feet by
Okay, so
20,
10 feet, it's only gonna be
and I think it's, like I
13
said,
or 14 feet
Yeah.
at the
Like-
highest, probably.
like I
Unless
s-
you're putting a very steep roof on it, you're not putting a steep roof on it.
it's one of those arched
Oh,
ones
ample?
that
Oh, so it'd be
is
a
that
little
what they
taller,
say?
so it would be a little taller.
Would you suggest we put a cap on the height?
I don't know that the height is gonna be that much different back there because it's,
Well, and they're not gonna be, it's not gonna be anywhere near the height restriction, I'm
yeah,
sure.
no, I don't see that.
The 5th criteria here is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision, but shall not necessarily preclude granting of the variance.
That's interesting, I mean, the garage was there when she purchased it, presumably. The real difficulty is with the neighboring shed, which is an encroachment on her property line.
then you can maintain the 6 feet. And if we wanted to, I mean, I'd like to know how far that 20 feet is from the back corner of the house. No, I guess it wouldn't be, yeah, it would be coming forward, whatever we move it forward, because right now it's on the line.
Right, and the old one was it 20 or 22 or?
20,
22, 22 by 12.
Right, the new one is 20.
20, so
20.
it's 2 feet,
Reducing the size.
difference there, yeah.
yeah, so, but if you pushed it, if you said it had to be 6 feet on the back like the zoning calls for, that would push it
Probably
forward
too close maybe.
4 feet.
Mhm.
Might be a little close.
So we could keep it even with the, I see what you're saying.
Well, we can specify the distance to the house as well as the property line.
Well,
and
we
the-
could
and the rear
certainly,
property line. I mean, it's gotta be 6 feet. To the
I
house.
didn't know, yeah,
There's definitely 6 feet from the house to the
Yeah.
end of that concrete.
Yeah, you could argue that this was not self-created because your neighbor put the shed on your property, and here you are.
Yeah.
You could argue that. I could argue that it was self-created, that, you know, you
took
didn't.
down the
You
shed.
took down the shed, and you didn't build a new one right where it was, and but I'm not arguing, but I could, I'm not arguing that.
Right, just,
All right, well, we've beaten this up pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Would either of you gentlemen like to make a motion? What would you like me to?
Well, if we're gonna include specific
Distances?
distances, right, to the shed and to the rear line.
Well, that would have been in my motion, we've discussed,
I'm sorry, we need to back up. Did we have a final answer on whether the alleged difficulty was self-created or not? Because I need to mark it down. for
Phil was
posterity.
arguing it both ways.
I already did both ways, but if I had to like put my handwriting or my signature on it, I would say not. I would say not,
Yeah, I would say not.
because
Due to the
that
shed
shed,
being encroaching
the
on
shed
property.
is encroaching on the property.
Right.
And that's causing a problem. Now, if the shed weren't there, I'm wondering if the old garage was maybe 5 feet from the property line or 4 feet from the property line, because I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not arguing that point.
Yeah.
My point is the shed's the problem now, and she didn't put it there.
Right.
I appreciate the questions. We need to be clear. And last month, Sue made a point, and I'll say this again out loud, that our minutes need to reflect our reasoning for the decisions that we make. And
That's what Barbara's doing.
That's what
I know, I'm just saying it out loud for the record.
I used to be the village planning board secretary in Montour.
And you know
Yeah,
the
I
importance
totally
of-
understand
You know
this.
the importance of a record
Yes.
and minutes. Although now we have these newfangled contraptions.
Yes,
Well, just to discuss that further, Alan, about distances, we had talked about, and the applicant had talked about being 3 feet from the shed and 3 feet from the back
From the
property line.
Property line.
She offered that, we discussed it.
So we can make that part of the.
I happen to think that was reasonable. I might argue for 5 feet from the back property line, but
then
But
you're pushing it towards the
the
house.
difference to the rebuilding in place in the code is so strong that if we can get 3 feet off of that property line, I think we're doing the neighbors a solid, and I think we,
And towards the back, may I add, if it was added to go forward, it'd be, as Dave said, closer to the house.
Right.
Where in the back, you got a fence and you got a yard. You don't have any objects other than that to adhere to if it was a fire thing.
and then other than those two dimensions, the side yard and the backyard, maintaining the required separation distance to the house and any other structures
Right.
at 316 Fifth Street or whatever it is.
310, yep.
And your own house, your own property,
The 507 period.
the 507 house.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the area variance conditioned on a 3-foot setback on the rear side, 3-foot setback from the adjacent shed, and no more than a 12 by 20 garage.
10 by 20.
Sorry, 10 by 20.
10 by
Took
20,
down
yeah.
12 by 20. Yeah, 10 by 20.
If it's, I do have one concern on the back part of it, with the three.
Can you just wait for him
Oh,
to finish
sorry.
making motion?
Sorry, forgot. Go ahead.
And also conforming with all the other variants, or other setback requirements that pertain to other structures on the property.
Did you get that? I'll second. David will second that. Is there any further discussion? Did you have another point
I
you
have
want
one question. If my old was 10 or 12 by 22, and I have to have 3 feet from that fence, which hopefully, you know, if I do 10 by 20, I'm hoping I don't have to come a foot further towards the house. So can we make the back 2 feet just to be safe, so that I am going up, or maybe not?
Yeah, I think I'm
Or are
stuck
we-
on
we're
3
stern?
myself.
to? Yeah, I think you're getting a good deal at 3.
Okay, all right, I'll make it work, I'll make it work. No, I'll make it work, I agree with that.
Any other discussion?
3 allows you to go in there and keep the lawn mowed, brush down from the.
Yeah,
between the
there's no,
fence and the-
well, there would be none of that behind the house because it's all concrete, but that's, I understand
I
that
mean,
point.
between your new structure and the neighbor's fence.
Right, it's all
That 3
concrete,
feet allows
Right.
cleaning and upkeep.
okay. All right, I appreciate your time and effort.
We're not done yet.
Don't get ahead of yourself. We haven't voted.
Oh, sorry, forgot how these meetings went.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion's carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, I really appreciate it. I just want the neighborhood to look nice, okay?
We all do.
Appreciate that.
We all do. But we also want to adhere to our zoning code
Yes, I
because
understand.
you gotta have rules. In this day and age, for sure.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for coming in. Again, sorry that this took another month than it should have.
It is what it is. I gotta wait 6 to 8 weeks for him to make a door on the left anyway, so, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You want your pictures back?
Yeah, we have no place for them.
Okay.
Oh,
Do I keep,
right.
yeah,
All right,
that's
okay.
fine, that's fine, thank
I
you.
guess we did review them while we were making our decision, so
Yeah, they should be part of the record, that's true.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barb.
Okay,
So the January 16th minutes were already approved last month?
they were approved last month, but let's make sure that Fred's minutes, well, we haven't seen any of it. We don't have minutes from the March meeting, do we? Because
Right.
we didn't really have a meeting, but we did have a meeting.
We just approved the minutes
We just approved the minutes.
and then adjourned.
So they would be very short minutes for that meeting, wouldn't they? So we'll deal with that later. If you wouldn't mind, Barb, and if you want me to do it, I'll do it. We need to get up with Fred and
That's fine.
see what happened with
I'll
that.
be happy to have those for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, so is there anything else on the agenda? Any public comment, board concerns, other issues? Motion to adjourn. Alan, I'll second that. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. We are
I
adjourned.
didn't know that you had to have a motion to adjourn. We don't at our, I don't think it's a Robert's rule.
Really?
No.
Hmm.
I mean,
I don't know, I've always done it that way.
board, I know, people do, but our board, we don't do that.
I don't know, I just do it, but Barb and the village people tell me to do. Thank you.
And I don't
Did you
look at
want
the,
to forward those photos then?
you can have my folder back.
Okay.
Okay. I don't look at the Robert's rules, I only know what somebody told me.
I have a copy of Robert's
Don't,
Rules
don't
somewhere.
get,
They're very complicated.
don't get me wrong as being a bookworm over here.
Don't worry. I've read them, I've read them. I was terribly bored one night, used them as a sleeping aid.
I have looked at them. Looks up a couple of things.
Send out your name tags.
All right, we're adjourned.
Okay, so next month,